What's going on, guys? PC here, and welcome to another episode of Answer This. So today's question is, what are some canceled games that you would love to play? Obviously, over the years, a lot of games are announced. Not all of them are released. They're canned for one reason or another, and I want to know what are some of these games you would love to play. And I have actually a few of these, and the first of which is actually one I just recently found out about, and it's based on one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Tremors. Tremors, if you don't know, is a movie about a bunch of giant ancient worms that are living under a remote village, and they come up out of the ground and eat people.
They're under the goddamn ground.
It's pretty much a horror movie, but it's kind of a corny horror movie. It really doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's a funny movie, and you really should check it out if you haven't. But the worms can't actually see anyone. They have no eyes, but they can feel vibrations on the ground, so they find people that way. And the game was to be based off of the movie, pretty much exactly. It's about a bunch of guys that are trying to kill the worms, and I think it would have been kind of interesting. Basically, how you avoid the worms is by going on top of rocks or on top of buildings where they can't feel the vibrations. If you're walking on the ground, you have to stand perfectly still or they'll find you. And I think it could have made for an interesting video game. The game was set to be released on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, I believe. And it was announced around 2002 and was canceled in 2003 for unknown reasons. Possibly licensing issues, but nobody really knows. But yeah, that's my first pick. So the next game is actually one that started on the Sega Genesis, but a sequel was planned for the Dreamcast. And I actually have the game right here, and the game is Shikon the Forever Man. And this is a game based off of a comic book character called Shikon, who basically challenged anyone to a fight and said he could beat anyone, including Death himself. And Death actually took him up on his challenge, and he ended up defeating Death, and as a result he's cursed to live forever until he vanquishes all evil from the entire universe. So that's basically the concept behind it. This game is known to be one of the most difficult games ever made, and the Dreamcast version was supposed to be pretty much the same. It was supposed to be really difficult, but I really like the concept behind it. Basically, from what I can tell, I think it was supposed to be basically a sequence of boss battles, one after another, but not your typical boss battles. You can't just run in and hack and slash the boss until he's dead. Each boss would have a specific weakness that you had to exploit, and you had to actually find that out. And I think it sounds kind of interesting. One of the examples they used, there's a whole article about this game on IGN. It's kind of a preview of it, and they kind of went into a good amount of detail. There isn't much on the game. There is a video of a 3D Shikon character model on YouTube. You can check that out. That's about the only footage there is. There's some concept art as well. But anyway, the boss battles are supposed to be very strategic. You have to exploit the weakness, like I said, of each boss. And they used an example that one boss might be attracted to a certain object, and you can kind of run up and grab that object and maybe throw it behind him, and he'll run that way and you can stab him in the back. Or maybe you can take that object and throw it over a cliff and watch him run off the cliff. And I think it sounds pretty interesting. It's a really cool concept, and one that I don't think has been done in any other video games. It was meant to be really difficult, but it sounded really cool at the same time, because you had to really observe each boss and try and find a way to defeat them. And I think it sounded really interesting. So the final game is a survival horror game for the Dreamcast called Agartha. Agartha was in development by a company named No Cliché, who you actually may know as the developers behind Toy Commander. And you may think it's kind of a leap going from Toy Commander to a survival horror game, but it actually isn't, because the head of No Cliché, whose name is Frederick Reynald, was actually the creator of a very well-known survival horror game called Alone in the Dark, so it actually wasn't that much of a leap for him. What I really like about this game is the story behind it and the concept of the game. The story is that there's this town, this small town in the middle of nowhere. I think it's in the middle of a volcano or something like that, and evil is trapped there and trying to take over the town and eventually escape and take over the world. and you as the main character would go into this town, and you could choose to either help the people in the town and stop the evil from escaping, or you could take the side of evil and help it take over the world. And you could make decisions throughout the game that would affect the ending and how things would play out. So I think it's really cool and a very cool concept. For the time, there weren't too many games that had like multiple endings and decisions that you could make through the game that would affect the outcome. So I think it just sounds really cool, and the atmosphere of the game looked really creepy and very similar to Silent Hill. There's a lot of fog around the town and stuff like that. You can actually see the town and a lot of the game in a 14-minute gameplay video that's on YouTube. It actually isn't gameplay. I actually did a email interview with Frederick Reynald a little while back, and he had told me that the game wasn't that far into development. They did a lot of the 3D models and they did a lot of the town, but they actually didn't program in any gameplay. The gameplay you see on YouTube is actually just a camera basically weaving through the town and showing you what they had done, and it just looks really cool, and it's definitely a game I would have loved to play. So those are some of the canceled games that I would have loved to play. I want to know, what are some canceled games you would have loved to play? Let me know in the comments down below, or do a video response. The official video responses have been discontinued by YouTube, unfortunately, but if you want to make a video response, just send me a link in a PM and I will put it in the video description. I believe the new Google Plus commenting system will let you post video links in the comments too, so I'm not sure if that works. I haven't tried it, so you can try that as well. But anyway guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.